Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Time Pass with the New Indian Express. I have with me the wonderful Bhawana Somaaya, who's covered the Mumbai film industry for 40 years. She's been a cultural commentator. She's seen the ups and downs of the industry. She's seen stars rise and fall, empires being built, empires crumbling. And she's kept her sanity all throughout, which is saying a lot in these days. But today I have her here for a special reason. She's written, what, 16 books, Bhavna ji?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this book is particularly special. It's translation from the Gujarati of Narendra Modi's letters to mother. Here it is. And she's translated it from the original, which was in Gujarati, to English. And I have to say that I was so actually surprisingly affected by it. It's deeply moving, Bhavna, and I wonder what drew you to it and what you felt while you were translating it. Some of it, actually, there seems such an excessive feeling in it, and some of it is quite shocking because when you see the Prime Minister, he seems so well put together and so collected, and here you have someone who's so angst driven and who's so who's always talking about suffering and pain and trying to control it. Of course, it was written in 1986, so he was considerably younger. But tell me, what drew you to this and what you felt while you were translating it?
First and foremost, Kaveree, it is so heartening because the way you have reacted to the book is exactly the way I felt it when I was writing it.
Right.
And I have been able to translate that and it's reached you. It will reach a lot more people because to begin at the beginning.
Yes.
I had translated a book on Lord Krishna in 2008 from Gujarati.
Right.
Though my mother tongue is Gujarati, I have not studied Gujarati. I have not been, familiar with the script.
Right.
But my parents insisted that because it's a mother tongue, you must know to read and write. So I just know bare sufficient. So when I translated the Krishna book in 2008, it was a very, very difficult experience for me. But I went through it. I didn't give it up. I wanted to give it up halfway. So I have a writer friend who called me one day and said that, so what are you translating these days? So I said, no, I've done one book and it was very traumatic. I don't want to do another translation. So he said, no, you cannot do that. You have to translate. And he just said casually, how about translating the Prime Minister's book? So I said, oh, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not qualified for it. It is too mammoth a task and too much responsibility and too much of a headache. Not interested. But he's a very persistent guy. So he kept calling and finally to get him off my head, I said, now let me search for a book. And I remember that I had been for one of the same books, inauguration at the Bhaidas Hall. And I had purchased that book and then it was lost in my bookshelf because reading Gujarati is so tough.
Right.
So I pulled it out and I began reading and it was a tough read and a very slow read. When I finished reading, I was very shaken and overwhelmed. And I said, my God, who would believe that he would go through this kind of an intensity and also lay himself so bare without protecting himself? So I thought about it for a few days if I wanted to do it. I didn't tell my friend that I have read it because otherwise he would be hammering on my head. So I said, look, I'm going to just give it a try. And mostly I will not succeed. So I'll just do the exercise. So the first draft, Kaveree, is always easy. Because as journalists, we are always rushing for a deadline.
Absolutely.
So we know that we have to complete it, whether it's good, bad or indifferent. And then we can polish it up and kind of इज्जत बचा सकते हैं. तो मैंने कहा कि मैं एक बार तो खत्म कर देती हूँ, फिर बाद में देखा जाएगा. तो एक बार मैंने खत्म कर दिया and then the checking of the words, the checking of the syntax, checking of the meter, checking of the emotion quotient. I did not want to at any time lose his emotion quotient, which was so high and overriding.
Right.
And it took several drafts, a lot of rewriting, again and again, Shabd Coach mein dekhna words ko, because Mr. Modi uses very high Gujarati.
Acha.
Even for a simple word, his
Okay.
vocabulary is very high. It's not the kind of Gujarati I'm used to at home. So I also had somebody whom I was again checking words with.
Right.
In final draft, again checking because I didn't want to go wrong.
Hmm. So when did you do all this, and when did the publishers then get in touch with you? Did you at any point check with Mr. Modi? Would he be okay with this? Did all that happen?
See, when you write on a celebrity like him, there is, of course, some kind of protocol.
You have to follow it.
Yeah. So without divulging into too many details, I did meet him once, and I told him that I am thinking about doing this. I said, I'm not sure if I'm capable of it. And I said, I have done 5 poems and I'm leaving them with you. And if you think I am getting the expression,
yeah,
then you reflect on it and send me a word. So I kind of got a word. And after that, I had not spoken to any publisher. You know, Kaveree, because I have always been a regular journalist.
Yeah.
I do my regular radio shows and write books. So I don't like telling anybody till I am last final proof I have read it. And then I don't mind waiting if the pitching takes long and all. So when I was finally ready, of course, I gave it to my agent and she pitched it. And we had a few choices of publishers. But my instinct said to go with Harper's. And they were as excited and enthusiastic. So the title of the book is mine. I thought of it. But the size of the book, the presentation of the book, the price of the book is the editor Udayan Mitra's idea.
Right.
And I think it's a superb idea because this is not a book about the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
This is not a book about the Chief Minister. This is a book about a young man in 1986, an ordinary man like you and me, who expressed himself in the diary. And he tried his level best to destroy the diary, tore the pages, put them in the fire. But you know, किसी चीज को बचना है तो वो अपने आप एक जरिया आ जाता है और ये किताब शायद तब तो किताब नहीं थी, it was just a diary, so it was saved. 86 he wrote, 2014 the Gujarati book came out. I was at the function, sitting in the auditorium, listening to him. Not in my wildest imagination would I have thought, okay, someday this is going to happen.
Right.
6-7 years later, it happened.
Right.
And let me tell you that through the several drafts that I was doing, a couple of times I said, why am I suffering? Because he suffered so much, and I'm suffering with him. And I'm suffering as a writer, I'm suffering as a translator. And what if it is still not up to the mark and nobody is going to touch it?
Right.
But one thing is there, Kaveree. No matter what book idea comes to me, or a ballet idea comes to me, or a film idea comes to me, however absurd, stupid, foolish it is, the fact that it is born in my heart, I complete it. Then I pitch it sincerely. There are so many things that have not gone into the public space. It is okay.
Right.
Because that exercise taught me something.
Right.
It taught me to endure. It taught me to try. It taught me to give my better shot.
Right.
And to again seek and submit.
Right. Which is pretty much the theme of Letters to Mother. The whole idea of submission, of suffering. I mean, there's so much pain here.
And you know, Kaveree, what is fascinating is his attachment to the Mother Goddess, his conviction about her existence in his life, and a submission and a courage of conviction that she is going to hold his hand and get him out of the tunnel, whichever tunnel it is at that phase of his life. Also, I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's definitely happened with me. When we are budding journalists and we get very sensitive about certain things or certain people you're interviewed, and there are seniors above us who are not divulging too many details and finally doing with our copies what they want to, you become so sensitive that there comes a point when you are all the time being told, oh, stop being sensitive. You know, the line is thrown at you as if it is a crime to be sensitive. Here is this man who is overflowing with sensitivity and writing it, expressing it, and not frightened of being vulnerable, not worried about being judged. Otherwise, for the kind of position he is in today, there can be so many perceptions. So today in the morning, I did one interview and he was asking me, so when you were translating, were you feeling or sensing the Prime Minister or the writer? So I said, when I started, of course, it is the writer, a man.
Yeah.
I said, but at some point in the evening when I would shut the book and start the TV, the Prime Minister's going in and out.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is this the guy I'm translating?
Right.
So big. And then I shut the TV and I said, I don't want it to disturb my thought process.
Right.
But this I go through, even for instance, when I did 2-3 books on Bachchan.
On Amitabh Bachchan, yeah.
So, you know, I would be doing the book and I would be rewriting it and putting my story in a synchronized state. Meeting him or even his movie watching was disturbing it.
Yeah, yeah.
This is so intimate. I'm finishing something. I want to finish that and then watch him as a star on the...
Right, right.
This all of us go through.
Absolutely.
But let me tell you, translating is far more difficult than writing.
Right.
Because when I'm writing, I'm just responsible for myself.
Right.
And this is dual responsibility. This is dual time. I could have finished another book by this.
Yes.
And it is his voice. I have to sink in with my voice, which is female. He is a male voice. What is common is the emotion. And to make sure that it balances and there is a rhythm in the words. Because in Gujarati, it sounds very, very different.
Right, I'm sure.
And the language is very different. You know, there, the writers, they say the same thought in many sentences with many, many words.
Right.
And here it is different.
Right. Was there any part of it that was particularly emotional to you, which you felt, you know, you had to step back a bit and come back to it again? Was there any part or any passage that overwhelmed you, shall I say?
You know, actually, it's there everywhere. And he addresses different issues, whether it's technology, whether it is universe, whether it is the planet, whether it is a mother's emotion for her child.
Yeah.
I feel when he talks about his constant dialogue with nature, you know, the detail in which he observes the sun and characterizes it, then the moon and seeing so much in the moon, then the river, the sea,
the stream, yeah.
Then the trees,
yeah.
The leaves, then the birds. So I felt that how can he observe so much? His imagination is very overwhelming. And he uses it to camouflage his sensitivity and addresses larger issues.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I quite agree with you. You know, the idea of the mother goddess, the Jagat Janani, what exactly, what role does it really play in the Prime Minister's life? Have you been able to assess that apart from just this?
Uh, yes, from whatever I have read
Yeah.
about him, is right from the time apparently he was the chief minister in Gujarat, because my entire family is in Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar. So every time I would go to visit my sisters, I was always hearing stories about the chief minister.
Right.
And they said that, he is a firm believer in the goddess. And for the Navratri, he keeps 9-day
Hmm.
fast.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a liquid fast or fruit
Right.
fast or something
Right.
like that. So all this kind of puts the puzzle into place.
Hmm.
It's only when you are so connected. See, all of us have one God that you relate more to than
Yeah.
others. That so for him, it's the mother goddess.
Hmm. Hmm. Which is quite surprising. So it's you don't associate the Prime Minister with the feminine energy, don't you?
But then she's Shakti,
Yeah.
Ada Shakti.
Right.
But you are right. It's a lovely question because, for instance, in cinema,
Yeah.
I've written about this, that Dilip Kumar always addressed to Shiva.
Yeah.
Okay. And Meena Kumari always cried before the Krishna idol.
Right. Right.
Similarly, Amitabh Bachchan also was addressing to Shiva.
Shiva.
And if you are the hero's best friend,
Yeah.
kind of bachelor, then you're always talking to the Bajrang Bali.
Right.
All the female protagonists in the so-called parallel cinema are addressing the mother goddess
Right.
because she's Shakti and Durga.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very interesting that the Prime Minister should have Jagat Janani as his marker.
It has to do probably also with his early influences. Maybe his
Right.
mother believed in it.
Right.
Because the god or the goddess usually first comes from your own biological mother.
Right. Also, 1986, when this book when this journal was written, when these pages were written, was a very interesting time because the Prime Minister had still not joined the BJP. He joined the BJP the next year. So he was still in the RSS. So I think there's that question as well, because when he talks about meeting Bala Sahib, which you refer to, I think that question is also being addressed and it's alluded to here. So, did you get a sense of yeah? Did you get a sense of the politics at that time? What was happening?
Not much, but all these questions that you're saying did come to my mind, and I did research. 86 was not a time he had yet got a powerful position.
Exactly.
Because see, I'm not a political journalist.
Yeah.
So if you ask me the film history, I'm able to connect with the decade and
Of course. Yeah.
to talk to some of them, but they were not able to help me. And then, I just gave up. I said, it's not my business what was happening.
Right.
I'll just go with it.
Right. No, I'm glad you did it, but I think I think that conversation with Bala Sahib, which you refer to, obviously that had some very profound effect on the Prime Minister.
I love that entire atmosphere of the Shibir,
Shibir, yeah.
The way he's described it, and also how many people are coming, and the cold and the mountains, and the way the youngsters are working hard. And after everything is gone and everything is folded up, when he talks about how it looks like it's ravaged, it was buzzing, and suddenly it's kind of just, and the vacuum he feels. So I feel everything that he's going through, he is living it to an intensity that is wonderful.
Did you get any sense of the leadership qualities that this man later developed?
I feel in the journal there is aspiration, there is idealism, there is motivation, mobilizing, there is an inner desire to change the nation,
right,
to bring improvement everywhere, and to not compromise on any of his beliefs. I think this is a foundation of the man eventually evolved.
Talk a little about how this is possibly the only pages, these are possibly the only pages that survive of his diary. You
Yeah.
talk about it in, the Prime Minister also talks about it in his foreword.
But I think that after this was published, um, I also discovered that there is another book which I thought maybe was published after this, but actually that was published before.
Mhm.
Another book which is called Aankh Adhanya Che.
Acha.
Okay, so I realized that that was published by the Gujarati publisher before this journal. So maybe this journal he felt was more intimate, and he was savoring it, and somehow it reached the publisher, and then he convinced him. But I think later on, once he realized that he should not give up on the exercise, and his friend Narendra Bhai Panchsara told him that he has to respect his oeuvre, his creativity. Um, he has been writing consistently. This is a gist that I get because somebody who writes, it is a compulsion to write. You cannot give up suddenly and say, I'm not going to write because I'm at a certain post. But we don't know. We have no
Yeah.
what all he has written. But I know that there is this book called Aankha Dhanya Che.
What does that mean, Akadanyaj?
These eyes are blessed.
Oh, okay. And has the Prime Minister had any chance to read it? Have you had any feedback from him?
Not directly, but I have exchanged some conversation with the PMO. You know, Kaveree, I am the kind of a person, when I finish writing, I'm like Arjuna, then for me it is over.
It's all done.
And whether it was from Bachchan or from Hema Malini that I did a book, I don't seek feedback. So I remember once somebody did an interview with me and they said that, so Mr. Bachchan must have been very happy with this. I said, when my book is over, I give the book to Mr. Bachchan. He looks at the book, he looks at me, he looks at the book, he looks at me. And he nods and he says, "Main padunga." And I don't ask him ever if he has read it. And he never tells me anything. He has not complimented me ever. So, usko chodo, sabko chodo.
That's nice. But what has the reaction been from people around you? Because the fact is that politics can be deeply polarizing, and there's some people who would accuse you of, selling out, so to speak, and some people would be very happy that you've done this. But willy-nilly, you get dragged into politics because of something like this.
Absolutely. I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't.
Exactly.
I don't know what is the reaction of people because I think the book is releasing tomorrow.
Right.
We have to say it today because probably you're putting it up tomorrow.
Yeah. Which is the Prime Minister's birthday.
Yes.
70th birthday.
Not many people have read it. I really don't care whether I'm criticized, trolled, or praised. Because I think what saves me is that I'm not a political journalist. I have no association with him. I am not meeting him like I'm meeting the actors. I am not going to do a political interview with him. So how does it matter to me what they think? I think I'm privileged that I'm Gujarati. I read his thing and I could translate it because I'm an English language writer. Cool.
You never know. With Akshay Kumar interviewing the Prime Minister, you could be next as well.
I will remember you if that happens.
I wonder what is the question you would ask him first?
I will ask him, why do so many people love you? And then I'll say, and why do so many people hate you?
Hate you, yes. Truly.
Truth.
Yeah.
There is the truth in between.
Yeah, that's true.
And how good do you think you are as a Prime Minister?
Right.
And what are the mistakes you have done?
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to know those answers, and I wish he would answer them as well.
Because, you know, Kaveree, people like us don't prepare questions.
Yeah.
We are having a conversation.
Yeah.
जो दिल में आया वो पूछ लिया तो उसमें दो चीज हो सकती है कि या तो he will continue the conversation or you show me the door.
Or you'll have another famous walkout. So, but was there any line or a couple of lines in Gujarati that really moved you in this, which you still remember?
There were many lines. So when the complication very big, when the language became very complicated and everything looked same, I had a standby few friends, and one friend in particular who is a Gujarati medium educated friend, and I would ask her. So there is something called where he uses the oars of his something.
Right.
That in Gujarati was beautiful.
Okay.
Even the way he describes the sea and the river was beautiful. In fact, I often felt lost in translation. And I was just thinking that maybe if a beautiful voice Gujarati actor were to recite the Gujarati, and then I recite in English, or somebody else recites in English, that would be wonderful. And it would be a good comparison to see that is it kind of balanced.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely idea, and it should be done. I think it's something that's waiting to be done. Definitely post lockdown, it'll be a lovely event. But uh, the suffering in this, that is the most striking thing about this. Talk a little about how that affected you. The suffering, the pain, the constant questioning of the mother goddess. Why me? Why am I suffering? How much more do you want me to suffer? It's a constant dialogue.
I was feeling that because I don't understand the politics of 86,
Yeah,
I was very curious to know what was happening in 86.
right.
His life, in his politics, in his RSS. Because if it is a cinema backstory, I'm very familiar with the emotions and the successes and the non-successes. I can push buttons and deliver it.
Right.
This is a new world for me, and his suffering is constant.
Yeah.
And there are two things to it. He is suffering, and he's also, it's like a meditation. He is not throwing his suffering. He is not just he is spreading it, he's spreading himself bare, but it's collective, it's calm, it's meditative, and it is used productively, constructively, and put into these passages. So it's not just the questioning to the mother goddess that why me. I think at least that comes only once in a while, but for him to be involved in suffering of everything he observes, and everything he thinks, and I feel often that he overthinks. And I felt anybody who overthinks is restless, is not at peace. So how does he transfer this restlessness besides the writing into what? Who is his friend? Who does he talk to? Who is his sounding board? Does he have a soulmate?
These are the questions that occur to you. I agree. I can't let you go, Bhavna, without asking about the film industry, because you've been covering it for 40 years. Do you see what is happening currently about Sushant Singh Rajput and Kangana Ranaut's allegations, and the media's obsession with what happened to Sushant Singh? Do you see it being somewhat unnatural?
I can just say that in 40 years, I've not seen something like this.
Right.
It's become so messy that to even comment on it is getting into a controversy. My heart bleeds because right now the kind of bashing that the film fraternity is getting, it is hitting below the belt. And I'm around for 40 years. I have never encountered anything like this. When I say I've never encountered, I have never encountered junkies and parties of this kind. So does it mean that I'm living in a different world? Or are they talking about another world? So I applaud Jaya Bachchan for her Rajya Sabha 0 hour comment. And I hope it's a wake-up call. And my heart says, that there has to be a boiling point to everything. And this is soon going to get normal. I am not saying that whoever has done anything wrong has to be punished. But just for a few rotten tomatoes, you can't be saying the entire basket is bad, or you can't be saying it's. Why does everybody single out only film fraternity?
Hmm.
Whether it's a casting couch or crime or suicide, everything happens everywhere. But जैसे ही film fraternity का नाम आता है तो सब ऐसे बैठ जाते हैं और मारना शुरू करते हैं. So you see, even my friends and my acquaintances are questioning if it's really a world of sin, and I'm angry.
Yeah.
Angry because this is an exaggerated perception. That's it.
Yeah. But just another question, Bhavna, because when you have such a fine actor like Kangana Ranaut, there's no question that she's a fine actor. She's also benefited from the industry. She's done some remarkable work. When you see her criticizing what she has benefited from, what do you think, and how do you think her career will go after this?
It's really walking into a red zone on commenting on this topic. I think let her just decide what she wants to do. Because when a lot of critics had not liked a film, she had called us Deshdrohis. So I just feel I don't want to get into her space.
You're right. But it's a time when if you don't like something, you can be dubbed an anti-national, and then there's no argument to that. I mean, there's no counter argument to being called anti-national. That's the ultimate.
Okay, the other thing is that the film world is anti-national.
And anti-Hindu.
Anti-Hindu, anti-national for the kind of films they are making, for the kind of subjects they are choosing. तो कोई भी इस वक्त कुछ भी उठ के बोल सकता है. It's free for all.
And it also, as someone who's been reporting on it for so many years, people must be wondering, hello, have you been telling us really what has been going on, or have you just been party to a gigantic cover-up?
The other thing is that everybody wants to know, what do you feel about it? What do you feel about it? I think sometimes in life and the flow of events, it's not important for you to comment on everything that goes on. And you don't meet and interact with every film actor. I never met Sushant Singh. I never interviewed him. The only one time I chatted with him for a very brief while was when we were traveling from Goa to Mumbai after the film festival. So he was seated next to me. And I introduced myself. I didn't sense any great curiosity in him to want to continue a longer conversation. He had a book with me. So even I left him alone and I read my book, he read his book. Mumbai came and we went our different directions. Now, Isme, what can you write on the actor whom you have never met?
Exactly.
Never done an interview.
Right. Bhavna, would you like to read a bit from the book before we let you go? And I like this also, Bhavna, what he wrote in his foreword. People judge me then, people continue to judge me today. I wasn't seeking endorsement many years ago, and I'm not seeking validation today. All of us are entitled to self-expression, and that's exactly what I've done. So
he's very clear, he's very brief, and he doesn't want to elaborate.
Right. So, yeah, please do go ahead. Yeah.
We've been talking about this suffering.
Yeah.
We'll say something about that. The mind is numb today. A discomforting feeling of something ravaged, something destroyed, something wrecked, of too much happening around me. Am I overreacting, hallucinating? I don't think so, Mother. Quietly, dreams return to roots. Quietly, expectations accept defeat. Quietly, the heart access desires. The heart access desires kills me inside. The helplessness persists as if every moment is dragging me to the end. I'm absolutely certain that it is the morning sun that burns me, or doesn't it?
Lovely. Really well done, Bhavna. I think of all the books, this is possibly going to give you the most satisfaction, although it's also, I think, one of the slimmest you've ever done.
Because you know what, the Gujarati book, they produced it like a coffee table.
Okay, right.
No, because by then he was the chief minister.
Right.
So there were a lot of illustrations and this. But I like the idea
Yeah.
of slim book reaching as many people as possible. And it calls for great confidence on part of Harper's and
Yeah.
editor. You know, it's a nicely brought out book.
Yeah.
Because normally when my books come out, Kaveree, I get so nervous that I don't look at it. I hide it from me. So I took it out only about 2-3 days ago because I knew I had to chat with you, and one night I just read it, and I'm very proud to say that there's not a single mistake in this proof anything.
Yeah, really well done. Thank you, Bhavna. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, and all the very best. Much more power to your pen.
And I want to say, Kaveree, that I really enjoyed chatting with you. I was a little nervous. You'll ask me certain things, and I don't remember all the poems just now. And we come a long way.
Yeah.
You know how relationships evolve, change.
Yes.
On a different platform, and that's the beauty of life and people.
Thank you so much, and all the very best.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.